universities, so Derrida's philosophy was spread in U.S. and it made a great impact to the American academia and academic institutions. So I'd like to think together with audiences, American audiences, in these places. What is the possibility of Derrida's notion of deconstruction from the point of view of education or university or institution or etc.
And so if we think of Derrida as however famous and important a philosopher he was, but he was never a professor of philosophy in France, was never recognized by the philosophy institution in France, even more so when he got international recognition. Because then people would say, Derrida, vedette américaine, American star, therefore. So the idea of international is important because the French system, like most of the European systems, is deeply parochial, deeply inward-looking.
Well, I have a question about part of the institutional structure that seemed unique, which is this built-in kind of temporary, or everyone can only stay for a certain amount of period.
Yes.
Has that? What kind of effect did you see of that? Did that have any effect?
Good effect and bad effect.
Both.
Yes,
really?
both. Yeah, and he knows.
It's an example also. There's a problem with memory.
Yes.
So the great thing about it is that people only stay for 6 years and the president's only president for 3 years. But then there's a problem of continuity and a lack of memory in the institution. So that's a sort of downside of it.
I am very honored to hear because just before of the foundation of the International College of Philosophy in 1983, Derrida come here. Derrida gave a lecture here in this room. And its title is the Principle of Reason, Eyes of University. And he quotes the episode of the first president and founder Ezra Cornell and Andrew White. And Ezra Cornell bring him, Andrew White, to this East Hill, and he said, "Look, this is a view. This is a view. From this view, we should found the new university." So there the question radically from what kind of view should we make new university, new research and education institution?
And my main question, which is addressed to some extent in the Blue Report, is why still philosophy? I'm not a philosopher. I don't claim to do philosophy, and I have no pretension to be doing philosophy at some later stage as like the crowning science. But there are still mentions of philosophy as the sort of carrefour, or Bruno Clément calls it the pièce maîtresse, right? So if there's really going to be a sort of transversal crossing in and out, why does it have to be crossing in and out of philosophy? And I think, despite the fact that Clément also insists that philosophy is not in the position of surplomb, of like control, sort of overarching science telling what the truths are in these other disciplines, I still think that perhaps due to the national tradition of philosophy in France, that there is a certain prestige attached to simply a disciplinary definition of philosophy that is infiltrating the very concept of the Collège International de Philosophie.
So once again, I'm speaking about the Direction de Programme right now. So I worked on the list of the 40 Directeurs de Programme currently in activity. And if you consider their social background and their profession, etc., you will see that the vast majority of directors are also teachers in higher education for economic reasons, of course. One might say that the average director is a white male in his late 30s, holding doctorate, French doctorate, an agrégation, preferably in philosophy, and being a former student of the École Normale is a plus. So, but I'm just underlining the fact that in spite of what people say and repeat in the documentary, the social composition of the college is in no way exceptional, or even particularly atypical. It is true that the position in the college is only for 6 non-renewable years. It is true that you do not have exactly a degree if you are a student there. It is true that there is no salary attached to a position. However, there are little structural differences between these so-called utopia and the actual stereotype in terms of social composition and gender composition, of course.
Of this paradox, which I would say is two-pronged, if you wish, in my perception of it, which is on the one, and this you show very well in the film, on the one hand there is this desire to philosophy, for philosophy, and on the other hand there is the right to philosophy or to do philosophy, which are two completely different languages. One is the language of the institution, of course, and one is the language of dissent in the institution, if you wish. And the college is sort of caught in that paradox, in that sort of two-vectored. I think that your film really captures this with your questions, and the way it showed.
About halfway or maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie, there's a bit, you'll all remember it, where the camera focuses on the hands in silence, and they made you look at the hands of these philosophers. And from that instant on, I couldn't watch them speak without also noticing their hands and seeing the kind of gestures they made. I thought that was particularly beautiful because the hand gesture is kind of like the work of art. It's not necessary for communication. It doesn't usually convey information in some sort of purposeful way. It's sort of an expressive excess that nonetheless tells you about the attitude, tells you about the body, puts the person into the space of conversation as something that's not just equivalent to anybody else who might be pronouncing the same words. So I thought that was another way of maybe refocusing this art or game quality of philosophy as done in this college.